Nin is a project manager with the National Robotic Club. She's also part of the Malaysian Robotics and Automation Society. What we see is that today, I think learning goes across to all ages. And in our last presentation, we heard from Ms. Lee, where she started to educate the preschools as well as the elderly on computational logic. Now, let's look at what Ms. Fatin can share with us. So, Ms. Fatin, I'll hand over to you to make a presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oliver. Afternoon, everyone. Hi. So, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me as a speaker to this webinar, and also for those attending this webinar. So the session, I would like to start off on the topic of why robotic education is important and how are we preparing our children for a robotic future. Now, robotic takes education to a new level. So it creates a new evolution of teaching. So the robotics requires all the subjects of science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So it's a well-rounded approach to educational technology. So again here, so I'll be speaking on how we're preparing our children for a robotic future. We're introducing the robotics to kids means making the STEM skills and knowledge hands-on much more fun to prepare students for the future in a way that feels more creative and less like a homework. So that doesn't mean that robotics is an easy part of STEM. In fact, this education technology can be a challenging for some learners, but a good challenge as students improve with robotics and programming. So these are all skills that will further their continuing education and their future career prospects. So it is a fun way to bring STEM to life, and it's important because STEM is the key successful future for students with the interest in motivating to pursue their careers. So let me ask you this question. Are we actually preparing our children for the future? So let's say the assembly line of the automobile industry. So almost 90% of work is done by robots. Now, robotic is the branch of technology that deals with design, operation, and most application of robots. So it's been observed that kids learning robotics has many benefits in the whole development of a child. So again, why robotics? So robot has been a captivating piece of technologies. So it's programmed to move, as you can see in the pictures here, programmed to move, make noise, light up and follow instruction as directed. So there is nothing quite as fun and also educational in building one's own robot. Since technology is growing, the abilities to provide to student education are limitless. So the simulation of robotics technologies offer a range of possibilities with education. Now, the education world will continue to benefit from the opportunities offered with these tools that we are teaching them. So in today's technology world, so it's now more than ever to prepare the students for the future. So as I said in the slide here, educators on all levels, so such as the teachers, principal, student, superintendents, instructors, should know the value of incorporating STEM education and focusing technology in the robotics education. So here are just some importance of robotics education. So why are we preparing students for this competitive workforce for tomorrow? Much like the rest of the workforce, the skill gap within education revolves around high tech. So as workers demand for high skill growth over the next decade, school should be increasingly looking for teachers who can help educate the student to meet those needs. So the skill development, it is much more fun and interactive, creative thinking, and getting the engagement of the students and also the problem solving. So it's important to understand that teaching itself is intensely a high-tech career. But for the next 5 to 7 years, the largest segment of new hires will be on the technology teachers. So educators are everywhere. Many of the product of an education system that are teachers, lecturers, and trainers, others like myself, become the educators. So for example, if you can see in my next slide here, the implementation of robotics education, I had the opportunity to teach one of these school in Seven Skies Islamic High School, Islamic International School in KL, Kuala Lumpur. So the robotics is a widespread of education technology that could be for community and educational purposes. So in this education of school, what I can see is that the digital competence of an average teacher is still behind the level needed for teaching in technology-rich classroom. So the teachers and students need skills and also knowledge for enhancing their lesson plans, activities with technologies. So as we can see here, educational robots can be used to improve the teacher and students bonding to support the problem solving, communication and creativity. So when I taught at this school here, one of the engagement was that the students are more interactive and they develop a lot of communication skills and are very compared to my theoretical teaching, it's quite different when I involve in robots. So together with teachers and also the students, educational robots provide a good opportunity to actually teach subjects like mathematics, chemistry, biology, and even physics itself. So we can incorporate those in the robotics education. So again here, the competence of a teacher for educational robotics consists of the unity of more than just theoretical. It should be more of a practical preparation to implement the learning activity level where the teacher can be involved in the field of robotics. So this includes the following components in terms of their method, the technical part, the specifical, and also the organizational in the education itself. So the structure of the competence of the teacher through his skills and abilities and their formation of the main criteria. If you are looking to get a kid or a teen more involved in STEM, better actually go into the engagement of introducing the education where they are able to uh, engage and also create a learning curve where it's much more fun. So speaking in passion of STEM and getting a child at any age to actually start along this journey should begin right now. I mean at the youngsters of the K-12 levels. So learning at a young age and a preschool age can explore and also learn actually a wide range of how robots can influence into the future and also its implementation and application. So these are some of our instructors here I'd like to share with you in our National Robotics Club. So what are one of the skills needed for an instructor and teachers in order to incorporate into the robotics education to be implemented even at school or any education system is that they need to have a strong leadership skill for technical advisory and guidance. So education currently they should involve in also competency and learning on how to adapt with the new technologies coming around. And also the second one is to be experienced in training and also conducting. So if you can't really get the engagement of the students through your teaching, probably incorporate one of the robots and also as you can see in the picture here, the 3D design. So this actually captivates the creativity and the fun in teaching them and learning. So again, creativity, innovative to make the robotics education fun is one of the ways also. So we're focusing on this specialized in the field of educational robotics and development of technologies. So these are some basics of the robotic instructors and teachers that we have first been with the in our National Robotics Club where we have implemented and where we basically level out the instructors based on these skills. So also I would like to share with you the importance of robotics, education. So here as you can see in the chart is from the Regional Economic Outlook. So Asia Pacific shows. So Asia is the forefront of automation with estimated 65% world's total industrial robots. usage for this is in 2017. So in Asia, China, Asia consists about 65%. So China is now the single biggest users of these robots, with estimated of 50% of the region's total industrial robot use. So followed by Korea and Japan. So it's not surprising actually for that for Asia to lead with all these robots. It's the highest robot density, which is the number of industrial robots, about 10,000 workers. So mostly automation and digitalization are actually not new. So even in recent advancing of computing power and also data generation equipped with robotics, much more capability, such as the latest generation of robots, can collect data to adapt their movements in real time. So this means that the more complex work that could be done by human can actually be done by machine. So it is very important of robotics education to start from the earliest education. So going back to the K-12 education, so all through the use of robotics, it can be programmed to suit each individual child's need, offering even to special education in much more simpler and accessible format. So we can target the K-12 and moving forward from there, from the primary to secondary and even to high school education. So robotics is a widespread education technology that could lead to more of a community and educational operations. Opportunities. So in our National Robotics Club, basically we have implemented in teaching robotics. So from robotics competitions to showcase, to even drive the community involvement, giving students something in which they can be proud of. This is just to get the engagement on how basically the students are able to learn and adapt with the new technology and future that we are heading for them. So these are some of the activities. Now, when we're looking into teaching them, so to get the engagement and also for them to actually start learning is quite difficult, because theoretically, again, STEM is not really an easy process to adapt with the robots and how to actually teach them. So what we do is basically education should be learned in a classroom in the structured system. But as far as it goes, the education should be put into practices. So without practice, really it can't be implemented. So from the primary school to secondary school, so these are just the beginning, the ticket to enter the big leagues and network of influences. So then moving forward to college, to the universities, then you graduate. So that's when the real classroom actually is revealed. So as on how robotics and education should be implemented together, as the educator speaks, the students response, and it's the viewpoints of on implementing the robotics education in the classroom is very important. So again, teachers should start assessing these students' competence of areas where they're able to learn and empower in facilitating learners to the digital competence for their robot enhanced training. So these are some of the examples that I've put in. So again, yeah, so I would like to basically just sum up that basically since the technology is growing and we're moving into the future, robotics education is actually very important to start learning at a young age rather than at the end of the age, because you need to adapt with the situation and the new technology that we are driven into. So it's quite important for us to really educate the students and also our kids to start venturing out into robotics. It's a new
Thank you
norm.
very much, Ms.
Thank
Fatima.
you.
Yeah, this is a wonderful discussion. I guess we now put all the different pieces together.